everyone and welcome to the spoiler book tag. So I was tagged to do this tag by Abby of Pelennor, who I'll leave a link to down below. She is awesome, go check her out. And so it's finally time I did this because she tagged me a couple of months ago now, if I remember rightly. So time to get into this tag at last. Question number 1 is, what do you consider a spoiler? For me, anything that's a character reveal, like their secret identity is finally revealed, or when it turns out a character is actually evil, or anything like any plot twists, or anything along those lines, I count as like spoilers, especially stuff like character deaths. Anything like that I consider very much a spoiler. But things like trigger warnings, so things that actually happen in the book that I could be considered triggering, so when I put those into trigger warnings in my videos, I don't count that as a spoiler. I don't count basic plot information, so like just the blurb, I don't count that as spoilers. But generally it's sort of like the big things that happen in the book that counts, like plot twists, character deaths, character reveals, things like that, I count as a spoiler. Question number 2 is, does the genre you're reading impact what you consider to be a spoiler? Sort of, in a weird way. If I'm reading sci-fi or fantasy, like all of that stuff I just mentioned, I count as spoilers. Whereas when it comes to graphic novels, because they've been out for so long and a lot of movies are based on these like bits in like the comics and all the rest of it, I sort of don't count that as a spoiler because I sort of know what's going to happen because of either the movies or because I've seen someone reference it in an Easter egg video or just a general informational video, or I've just come across it while doing research for certain characters, things like this. So in that sense, I don't find those things in graphic novels spoilers, simply because of the nature of adaptions and the fact that I run the comic book sanctum and things like this. I don't count those as spoilers. But when you're talking about sci-fi, fantasy, definitely those things I just mentioned, I definitely count as spoilers. Question number 3, all the best bits are in the trailer. Sometimes the synopsis can be too detailed. Do you research books prior to reading them, or do you prefer to know nothing about the book? For me personally, I do a lot of research before I buy a book, generally because I like knowing whether there's going to be a romance in there and a few other things, just to make sure, especially if it's going to be like a love triangle or something like this. If I see the words love triangle, I immediately take the book off the wish list. Romance, it will depend if it's like just between two people and it's not a love triangle or anything like this. It will depend on the book. I also make sure that the romance is not going to take over the entire storyline, because that is a very big pet peeve of mine in books. It's generally sort of like romancy stuff I make sure about. I also check obviously the like writing style, things like this, see what people are saying about like the writing style and all of that kind of stuff. So I do quite a lot of research in that sense, to be honest, though sometimes I do go in like not knowing very much, like I do with the Avengers Reading Challenge books. I do not look those up, I just sort of go into them because I just like going into those with no real knowledge. So I sort of do a mixture of both, to be honest. So it's a weird one. If it's like an author I trust, I will not do any research. But if it's a new author or an author I've sort of liked a few of their things but not a few others, I will check it out and just sort of do all that research essentially. I do a bit of both. I'm weird like that. Question number 4 is, sometimes the introduction or translator's notes can spoil the ending, especially for classics. Has this ever happened to you? No, because I don't read classics. Like, obviously I know sort of like I have read a couple. So I've read like Jekyll and Hyde, which I had to do for school. I've read a couple of other classics like that, like Alice in Wonderland for school and general schooling when I was still in school. So I sort of knew where those ones were going, to be honest, but I don't read classics now. I don't do it. It's not my thing whatsoever, so I don't really read them. So in that sense, I don't really get spoiled in translator's notes or introductions or anything like this because I don't read classics. So it doesn't really happen to me because most of the books I read don't have translator's notes or they don't have introductions. So I'm generally fine on that. Question number 5 is, name a time somebody spoiled a novel for you. The Mortal Instruments. I was halfway through book 4, book 5, I think it was, one of the two. And I was talking to my mum. About it because she'd read all of them like years before when the series was first coming out, and she spoiled for me who Sebastian was. that was fun because up until that moment I had no idea who Sebastian was. I had theories, but I didn't know who he was. So then suddenly the whole book kind of got ruined for me because I was like, oh right, yeah, I know who that is now, kind of thing, which just, it was very annoying. It was infuriating, actually. I was not pleased with her that day, but luckily since then she hasn't done it, so yay. Question number 6 is, have you ever spoiled a novel for someone else? I'm pretty sure I have spoiled a couple of novels for my mum, actually, so revenge. But I don't know, I don't think I've done it like deliberately or anything like this. I've spoiled a couple of bits in movies. I've definitely done that. And a couple in TV shows, because I obviously find out the spoilers because I'm online all the time, so I find out these things. But I don't really spoil novels that much, but I'm pretty sure I have done it in the past. I'm like 90% sure I have done this in the past. I've definitely done this. I can't remember a specific time, but I've definitely done this. Question number 7 is, if spoilers ruin novels, are there some authors or genres you can't reread? To be honest, I only read sci-fi and fantasy and graphic novels, obviously, and I don't really reread. There are books that I want to reread, like Vicious Vengeful, the Darkshed Magic series, Middle Game, things like this, and I think I'd be fine rereading those, despite the fact that I know what's going to happen, because I always use this example, but Marvel 1602 by Neil Gaiman is one of my favourite graphic novels ever, and I now know all of the plot twists, because there are a couple of plot twists in here, in that book, and a couple of hidden characters that are so cleverly hidden. It's really cool when they actually turn up and you're like, oh my god, it was them the whole time. It's one of my favourite things about that graphic novel. And what's happened is that I can reread that over and over and over and over again and still enjoy it as much as I did the first time round, even though I know that plot twists are coming, because it's such a good story. So for me, knowing the plot twists and who dies and all the rest of it won't really ruin the reread for me. If I've enjoyed the book enough to want to reread it, like, I will reread it eventually at some point and really enjoy it. I mean, look at the Skullduggery series. I have been reading the entire Skullduggery Pleasant series every single month for the Dead Famous read along, and I have read the first 4 books like 3 times, and after that up to book 9 it was sort of like my second reread, so I could remember a lot of it. I could remember who Lord Violet was, I remembered all the Darkest stuff, I remembered a lot of the character deaths, I remembered the man with the golden eyes, stuff like this. I remembered all of that, but I still enjoyed reading it so much, and I think that one was mainly because I could see the foreshadow coming as well, because like Derek Landy is so good at foreshadow, so it was so perfectly like foreshadowed and hinted at the whole way through, with all of these different plot twists, apart from a couple of them that just came out of nowhere. But it was so much fun to go back to the beginning and then see all of these little bits sort of dropping in, and these little bits of foreshadow and these little bits of like hints and all the rest of it. I loved that. So in that sense, if I enjoy the book so much that I want to reread it, spoilers will not worry me in that sense. If I don't really care about the book, then I ain't going to reread it anyway. So essentially, if I really enjoy the book, the spoilers won't matter for me, quite frankly. Question number 8 is, when reviewing a book, are you spoiler free, and does this limit your ability to discuss? Personally for me, I try to be as spoiler free as possible, unless I'm doing like I just mentioned, my Skullduggery vlogs, which I do full spoiler reviews on, and my thoughts the whole way through, because I can't shut up. It's hard enough keeping it all in during all of these live streams, so I just sort of let it out in the vlog. But I have very clear spoiler warnings in the title, in the beginning of the videos, things like this. So there's no excuse, quite frankly, if you carry on watching it without knowing what's going on and then you get spoiled. That's your fault, because you've been forewarned, and that's my general idea. So if I am going to mention a book or a film or anything like this in a video, and I'm going to be talking spoilers, what I do is put a spoiler warning and say, if you do not want to know these spoilers, go to this specific time, and then you can skip it, so you've got the option to skip it. But generally what I try to do is keep back the spoilers and try to be a bit more vague, because obviously not everybody wants spoilers, not everybody wants to be skipping around in a video and all the rest of it. So what I do is generally try to be as spoiler free as possible, but if I do want to talk about something spoilery, then I will put a spoiler warning and a click here to go to this part of the video to avoid that spoiler, essentially. So it's the best of both worlds. I seem to be the best of both worlds on all of this, quite frankly. I don't know how that's happened. And question number 9 is shout out. Tell us about 5 channels you enjoy and then tag them. Well, I can't tag Abby because she tagged me, but I'm going to shout her out anyway because she is an amazing creator and she's absolutely lovely. And she's just also hit 600 subscribers and just done a video every day in October, so go check her out. She is awesome. I'm also going to shout out Hannah from Ladder M, who is another one of our Skullduggery co-hosts. She actually created the read along herself and it's been awesome talking to her. She's got a really cool channel as well. She loves gothic books and she also owns a bookstore, so do go check that out as well. I'm also going to shout out Ali as well from Chaotically Ali. She's coming back to BookTube this month, so go check her out as well. I'm also going to shout out Lizzie and Danny as well because they were so nice to me when I was invited on to their Bevies and Books live show with Hannah and another Hannah as well. Actually, they were so nice and so welcoming, and I was really honoured to be asked to be on their live stream actually, and they are really good fun, really nice to talk to and all the rest of it. So I'm going to shout those out as well, and everyone I've just shouted out, consider yourself tagged, so go have fun. I think that was 5. I'm pretty sure that was 5. Apologies if that wasn't 5. I can't count. It's very early on a Wednesday morning. I don't know where I am, quite frankly, but hopefully that was 5. And that is the end of the spoiler book tag. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me some of your answers to this. I'd love to know. I'll also leave a link down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics. And if you want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here. And over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time, everyone, bye!